We say challenge creates change,
Okay.
right? So if you challenge yourself, and that could be in anything, right? If you challenge yourself mentally, you're going to change, you're going to grow. And so it's the same thing. Think about, in your art, if you challenge yourself, I remember back.
That's how you grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You break a
Push
few
yourself.
pieces.
You got to push the boundaries.
Exactly.
Welcome, Robertson Stash. Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Robertson Stash. Today we have another special guest on the show. We have world famous fitness trainer and model Gregg Avedon. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing great, bud. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm a sculptor and you're a sculptor too, but
Yes.
your medium is the human body.
You.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm living proof,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So we've been working out together, training me for the last maybe since January. So however long that is, 10 months or so,
Yeah.
but I've really seen a change and, stopping drinking too really probably helped.
I love it.
We're moving it all from down here to
Yeah.
up here, which is great. How did you get into the fitness world? Because I know you.
It's a long journey.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that I'm 60 right now.
That's
so,
incredible.
and
That's
I got,
absolutely incredible.
Thanks. But I got into the journey at 15. So,
Is that right?
yeah. And then from that point on, I never looked back. So it started very early. Remember walking into the gym for the first time in high school, and I was like, the heavens just opened up. Because I was kind of like trying to figure out where I was going to land. I was, you're only 15 years old. Let's face it. Okay. So, but I knew at that moment. And so by the time I was 17, I was in my first bodybuilding competition.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. So you were ripped in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I competed in 22 shows.
Wow.
And so I was, it was really just through my teen years and into, when I was into college and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And it was a great run, but that really set the stage and the tone for my life.
Yeah.
And there's so much that goes along with health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, you get into it for maybe the reasons that it helps you, get a little more confidence early on, especially at that age. You're so, impressionable.
Yeah.
And then things just, evolve. You start to learn a lot about yourself. And over the years, I just became kind of like the guru behind it, just because, as I progressed, and then I got into modeling. And so when I first got into modeling, I was too big to be a model, and I had to lose some weight. And then my journey in modeling spans over 30 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
So how did you go from fitness to modeling? Did you get scouted or did you go and apply? Oh yeah.
No.
Or
I went to college, so I graduated from University of Florida, and my background was graphic design with a minor in photography and art history. So an artist as well. That's why I don't know. We get along really well.
Yeah.
I'm very empathetic to,
And that's cool because you went to school for graphic design, but you were all into bodybuilding and health, and you just wanted to be an artist too. I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I studied in Italy for 6 weeks, and worked, in art in Italy. And then when I came back, I continued that. And, it just, I have to say, I think one of the biggest things for success, and you probably can attest to this too, is it's a flow, right? It's a flow. So if you're not fighting that current and you're just like letting yourself go in the flow, I found my most success. So it was like when I went away to school, came back, I was struggling, working as a freelance artist. My specialty at that time was airbrush illustration.
Wow.
And I just couldn't make it work for myself. I was looking to be an art director, and I worked as an art director for a year in Tallahassee.
What were you airbrushing on? Just like canvases or anything?
Well, you're doing mostly it's like cardstock, and you're doing like cross sections of cars and things like that.
Okay. Murals in homes or
not necessarily. It was more like very technical, very tight, really precise.
Okay.
So I was doing some architectural stuff and some like facades, of like renderings and things like that. And then some like magazine mastheads, because at that time we didn't have graphics.
Yeah.
So, it was really good for me. So I was doing mastheads of some magazine covers and stuff like that. And in any case, I was in the mall and somebody approached me. And so she just was like, "Hey, are you a model?" I was, "No, I'm not a model." She said, "Would you like to be one?" And I said, "No, I have zero interest." And she says, "Look, please take my card. And if you're interested, just give me a call." So that was an interesting situation for me. So I said, "Okay." Came back.
What year was that? You remember?
Oh, that was probably 91.
91. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So you got the card. You went home.
Well, the card was also crumpled, like she's like flattening it out,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's funny. I still have the card at home.
Really?
Yeah. And so I went home. I was living in an apartment with my then my newly wife at the time. And so I just remember sitting around the table looking at classifieds because we didn't have the internet. So looking at classifieds, couldn't get anything working. I said, "You know what? I'm going to give this person a call." And so the agency was called Beauty Works. And so I called her, and first thing I heard is her taking the phone. It was muffled. She's holding it up against her, and she said, "It's that guy. It's that guy."
Oh, really?
So I was like, "Oh, well, that's kind of cool." And so she said, "I'm sending to this photographer, Chuck St. John. I want him to shoot. He's going to shoot a picture of you, and he's going to give you the pictures because back then they had this there were negative films. You could roll them through like an instant kind of like
viewer.
What's that?
Like a viewer of some kind?
No, they would shoot it. Then it was like they were slide. It was like slide film, and then they'd run it through almost like a Polaroid, and they'd run it through and give you the negatives, and they could actually show prints almost immediately. So I did that, shot with him, and then I started working with him and a few other photographers, and then very soon after, I just grew so quickly in the modeling world, just doing jobs that were I was becoming more and more consistent. And then one of the photographers said he was crazy. He was from New Orleans, and he had a pet possum in a cage. You get near the cage, he was like, he's like hissing at you, man. Possums are ugly, man.
Yeah.
And so he would play his harmonica for the possum. It was just crazy. But anyway, he said, "Greg, you got to go to a real agency." So he set an appointment up for me at a place called Michel Palmier. And so I went there, and Michel Palmier was like, "I want you. I want you under contract right now." I said, "Well, I feel really guilty because this other woman, she's the one who discovered me." She says, "Well, how much would you have to make in a year?" And I said, 25,000. I was, not shooting for the stars, but I was trying to be realistic.
It's a lot more than it is now back then,
Yeah. So I said, "Okay," I agreed. And I think my first week, I made $6,000 immediately.
Whoa.
Really quickly. South Beach was just starting. And so I was just working like crazy on South Beach. I mean, it just, again, it's that flow. If it wasn't happening like it was, I think that I probably wouldn't have stuck to it. But it just happened so fast. Before you know it, I was in Paris. And, I was working, not in Paris, but in South Florida. I got to the point where, I was working about 22 days a month.
Wow.
And, making about $2,500 a day. It was a lot of money.
Awesome.
Going from, not
like late mid 90s you're talking here?
We're talking 92, 93.
Wow. Okay.
And so next thing you know, what's that?
That's a lot back then.
Yeah. And, so I'm in Paris, and my wife came over. I was there for 3 months, and she came over, and then we went from Paris to, they kept pulling me into Italy, to Milan. And so that was really where it all happened for me. I had a great agency in Milan. Max from Ugly People was the agency.
That's a good name.
Yeah, great name. And so just, he really made my career. I mean, that's when you say, like, having a really good agent. And I had agents all over the world. So I got agents, everywhere in, in Germany and America, all the different states in America.
Yeah.
In Paris, in London, in, everywhere.
Yeah.
So
So that was a pivotal moment, getting the new lady, Ugly People.
Oh yeah. Well, Ugly People and Max,
Oh,
he
Max,
he was just awesome. And then just from there, I just it didn't end. I mean, it was just going for the ride. And
You told me one of your brands you worked for was Versace.
yeah, oh yeah.
So how did that go down?
Well,
Like,
what's that?
was that like an exclusive thing, or did
No.
you just sometimes get called when he did shows? Or
Yeah, well, I did 13 seasons of fashion shows. So I would go from New York to Paris to Milan, and I did 13 seasons. So you're doing, the winter collection, the summer collection. And every season I worked with Johnny Versace, and I worked with John Franco, and I worked with Dolce Gabbana, and I worked with
personally,
yeah.
Wow.
You're and
That's pretty cool.
you're creating friendships with these people because they're very vulnerable. This is their art.
Yeah.
Their fashion is their art, and you're representing their art. And when they're doing fittings, you're all part of it. It's all, you're helping them create these fashion shows and their next collections. And so, I became pretty close with most of the designers. And
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so
What was Versace like?
he's very professional. The people around him weren't always as professional, but he'd get really uptight. And so, he was very creative.
Yeah. What was
but
his house like? Did you go to this house down in, was it South Beach? His house?
Yeah, I was, actually so what happened, this is before he had the house.
Okay.
So he had a house in Lake Como outside of Milan. And then he had his house in Milan. And so mostly we're in the house in Milan where he had a lot of his studio as well. So we were a big part of that. He had an elevator in his house and all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, and all his assistants and everything. But his shows were like the biggest shows going, even at that time. I mean, granted, all the other designers as well, had some amazing shows. But when we had stars there like Sylvester Stallone, you'd be doing the show, walking. His shows were like the biggest shows going, even at that time. I mean, granted, all the other designers as well, had some amazing shows. But when we had stars there like Sylvester Stallone, you'd be doing the show, walking out on stage, and there's Sylvester Stallone sitting there, or Liza Minnelli, or Elton John. He was there a few times. I met Axl Rose. I think we were talking about that.
Yeah, you told me that.
And so, it's really cool because, the energy of it all. I mean, there was a lot of work because you're doing fittings, you're doing rehearsals. And then when it was time for shows, you're just like playing in a sandbox. That's when like the lights happen, the music, and you're out on stage, and it's really cool. And like I said, I did it for 13 seasons. So it was about 7 years of doing shows.
So it's quite the performance then, eh? Like all leading up to it.
Oh yeah.
Quite a production.
Yeah.
How many models would you be working with?
Oh, there could be.
Because you're swapping out clothes. Like you walk down and you come back and you change into a new outfit.
Oh yeah. You have like your rack backstage. It's got your name on it. They'll usually have like 2 people that are dressing you. And so, usually it's like students who are really into fashion, and they're like, oh wow, I'm get to work backstage.
Is it like the pit crew from a racetrack?
Yeah, totally.
They're fast at it.
It's on a stopwatch. I remember I was doing a show with Dolce Gabbana, and I had to put on this jumpsuit that had about 350 buckles.
Wow.
And so I came backstage, and it was just, they knew, okay, Gregg has this really short transition. I come in, have to jump in this thing, and they had 5 girls on top of me just doing all these buckles, to get me to go back out on stage. But it was pretty funny.
The same thing out too, right? You got to unbuckle fast.
Yeah. And so, but it was really exciting and fun, and a lot of energy. And it was something that put me on the map in the modeling world because not everybody was doing the fashion shows. And so, you get in all of the fashion magazines, and that fed when you're doing, like in the off season, you're working a lot with catalogs from Germany and in Switzerland and in
What are catalogs?
So catalogs, it's funny you're saying what are they, because it's like almost like they're non-existent anymore. But it would be a catalog you get in the mail, and it's a mail order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So different brands in Germany and Switzerland.
Yeah.
You're working with?
And so you could work with some of these really big catalog companies, Heine and, Otto and some of these really big catalog houses. And so that by doing the fashion shows, that's where it fed you working even more. And that's where you really made the money. So in catalogs, that's where you're making that $2,500 to $3,000 a day. Whereas in the fashion shows, you're making really hardly any money. I do
it's more for the publicity of it and getting out there working for Versace.
Right. And so like with John Franco Ferre, I ended up doing his campaign, which we shot in Seychelles with a really interesting and famous photographer, John Paolo Barbieri. And that was an amazing shoot. And it's things like that where it fed. And then I did, Men's Vogue. It was like Italian Men's Vogue. I did 15 pages in Men's Vogue in that same shoot because the editor was there. And then, you go on and did the campaign for Valentino. And so I did his show. That turned into a campaign, and that was huge. That was billboards in Times Square and all over.
It sounds exciting.
Me and my glory, because it was like nudes. And so
nudes?
Yeah. And it was like billboards of me, just my butts. Just
no way.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. And you go, hey, that's me.
That's me up there,
That's ought to be cool.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't full frontal. It was the photographer was Herb Ritz.
Okay.
So Herb Ritz, very, very famous photographer. Okay. Amazing guy. And it was an amazing shoot. And
tasteful, I'm sure.
It was art. And in a lot of the pictures, I was with Chrissy Turlington. So I was able to shoot with a lot of these big girls at the time, Naomi Campbell and her and Linda Evangeliste and, all these really big girls. Yeah. And so I luckily was able to work with Christy a couple times. She was super nice and the shots were absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, maybe I'll send you a pic so you can
we'll ask you and put the B-roll up for sure. Yeah. We've been doing that.
That's cool.
So, wow, modeling seems very exciting and what a crazy life. Can you recall I'm sure there's plenty of crazy stories and crazy nights, but can you recall one? Did you go back to an after party and then, I don't know, is there any...
There was always,
you can tell us.
Yeah, there was always parties. There was always, and then you have, some of the crazy things that happen in castings and things like that, you just have to pretty much stand up for yourself. But one of the things that it's really funny because there was a model apartment in Milan and it was like all the models stayed there. So I didn't like to stay there because I just wanted to set myself apart from everybody, because I think if you want to have longevity in an industry where most people don't have longevity, I was kind of like the dinosaur. I ended up being that in the industry because I was in it for so long. And there's a few guys that, have had that kind of a career. But I think part of that is staying healthy in the process. You really maintaining a certain level of health, wellness while you're on the road.
And I'm sure that could be hard, with all the maybe drinking, partying. I don't know, to stay away.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a challenge and long days, and you're tired. You don't want to go to the gym at the end of the day, or you have sets with all the food on set, and you have to be good, and you're tired. And when you're tired, you normally want to eat junk because that's like sugar. It feeds your energy levels, and so it definitely takes a lot to maintain that. But so anyway, getting back to Milan, I just didn't want to stay in the model apartment.
Why is that? Just to set yourself out.
Yeah, I was more into
rustle the feathers a bit.
Not so much.
I need a bigger penthouse.
No. It was actually where I stayed was really small, and it was just this little hotel called Hotel Jolie. And I had a little room, one desk, window, no air condition, cot. And I just found I love to journal, and I love to work on myself, and I love to meditate, and I love to center myself. And that's how I was able to create longevity in my career and in my life. And I learned a lot also in that process, really being well read and, like I said, speaking kind of like to what you're doing in your life and what's happening and being inspired by things from allowing your soul to speak.
Yeah.
And
Were you always like that? Like
Mhm.
when you were 15, or was there a point when you got into modeling, you're like, I'm going to need to do more inner work or something?
Oh yeah. There's definitely where you have to dig deep to get through long days. So you either fold or you say, no, how am I going to get through this?
Mhm.
And so it's really self-care in every shape and form. And that, so the fact that I've already had that, back history of health and wellness, it really did feed into me creating that longevity in my
Mhm.
life. But in any case, so the place that I stayed at in Milan was a whorehouse. so, so yeah, so it was just,
Did they know that when they were booking it?
well,
They're like, oh, Greg really wants to stay in
Yeah.
this spot.
So when I first started staying at Hotel Julie, I loved it because I got to know the owners and their kids, and it was this really unpretentious hotel in Milan. It was like a small little area of Milan, and I really enjoyed it because, like I said, it gave me that opportunity to work on myself. And so over a couple of years, it changed over to
Really?
become a whorehouse, which was really hilarious. I thought it was awesome, just sitting in my room and hearing like them turning tricks next door, like constantly. But it was just, I don't know, it was just like exactly what I needed as far as like the setting when you're talking about just unpretentious, very simple in the room, and what was happening around me was whatever it was. I was totally fine with it. Didn't affect me. And I was able to still to kind of do my own thing, which is I always have been like that, like
Yeah.
doing, never really being a follower and always saying, "Hey, man, how do I lead this situation, or how do I set a new precedence in this situation?" And even I remember when I was in Paris and I was working with a client, and I left, and I'd gone into this little coffee bar, and there was a whole group of these people from one of the fashion houses, and they're all sitting there having coffee and having breakfast, and I said hi to everybody, and when I left, I told them, "Hey, let me pay for their bill." So I paid for the bill, and I left. Said goodbye to everybody. They didn't know that I paid,
Oh.
and so they could not believe that I paid. So they called my agency and say, Gregg Avedon paid for our meal. I can't, what no model would ever do. And models are looking for free food all the time.
Wow.
So that was just kind of like my MO, it's just like setting myself apart from everybody and not doing it it wasn't forced. It wasn't
it's your
planned.
nature. It's
Yeah. It's just exactly just who I am. And it's just like kind of like, living a good life and trying to, make people better around me, which is what I do today.
Yeah.
You know,
It's good karma too.
yeah, absolutely. Like when we talked about it, man, I want you to leave that gym when we're training together. I want you to leave better than when you came in.
Yeah. And I always feel better every time.
Good.
It's hard to get there sometimes, but
yeah.
you
You come in and we have fun, we laugh, we work hard. You walk out and hopefully you're feeling better.
Yes. Well, you laugh at me sometimes.
I do laugh at you a lot. Only because I know how it feels.
But from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges people face when like starting on their health journey? Because it can be hard. And like, I don't know if I could do it on my own right now. I'm trying to get in. So it's muscle memory and it's just part of my habit, but it's really helpful to have you. But
yeah,
what are some of the biggest challenges you see? Do you see people like sign up for a little bit and then kind of dip out,
it is the consistency thing. I think consistency in everything that you do is really important. So when it comes to nutrition, being consistent is where you're going to get the results. And same thing in your glass blowing. When you think about, being an artist, you have to put in your hours. You got to put in the time.
Exactly.
You have techniques that you learned and you developed. And so it's the same thing in the gym with weightlifting or in any kind of modality that you're doing in health and wellness. It's consistency. And so I don't have patience for when people don't, show me that they have consistency. I feel that everybody's on this journey. So maybe in the beginning, they have to warm into that consistency.
So they don't get scared off. or
Well, like some people
ease into it?
Yeah, some people just aren't used to, being consistent in the gym. Some people don't want to be sore consistently. It's not that you have to be sore
So
consistently.
being sore is just I'm going to always be sore now if I'm going out, or does it go away?
Are you sore all the time?
A little bit, like
Yeah.
a couple days after sometimes. Yeah. And then it started over again.
Well,
But
there's
it's
something we say challenge creates change, right?
Okay.
So if you challenge yourself, and that could be in anything, right? If you challenge yourself mentally, you're going to change, you're going to grow. And so it's the same thing. Think about, in your art, if you challenge yourself, I remember back.
That's how you grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You break a
Push
few
yourself.
pieces.
You got to push the boundaries. and then
Exactly. Yeah.
You learn a lot too when you
do.
do that. Even
Right.
if you fail.
Right. Or if you succeed.
Yeah.
You say, what were the things I did right? And so, I think about back when I was water skiing in South Florida a lot, and really I had my own ski boat and so forth. And, you took a lot of falls, but you also got better really fast. And the falls kind of hurt sometimes, but it's the same thing in the gym. Like, when we talk about just being consistent and learning to be consistent, that's where you're gonna continue to like get better and learn about yourself as a person. I think I always say, training is really the easy part because you're only in there for an hour, let's say, maybe an hour and 15, hour and a half. It's the nutrition that's the hard part because that's the other 23 hours that you have to deal with, and it's very emotional. And so these are choices you're making all throughout the day. So for some people, those emotions get the best of them. Whether it could be
eating healthy is a major part of staying
absolutely.
in shape.
It's everything.
Okay. It's everything.
It's everything. And so, you think about, people emotionally, like if you're celebrating, you're eating, if you're depressed, you're eating, if you're bored, you're eating, all these things. So it really is in your face all the time. And it's probably the most difficult part of it. So when I would compete or when I was, all my years in modeling, doing all of my men's health stuff. So we didn't really touch on my men's health career.
Yeah.
But, I've been on more covers of Men's Health than anyone in the history of the magazine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And look,
Did you have a contract with them or?
I did.
Okay.
I did. There was only me and one other guy who had contracts with Men's Health.
Wow.
And so, so I would on average do 3 to 4 covers a year for a while.
Right.
And so, I've got over 25 covers with Men's Health. And it's just great because you're inspiring people and it gives you kind of a rhyme to reason. Like it all kind of came together for me, when I was, with training hard, eating clean, and you're living a good life and it shows, and you represent a corporation like that, Men's Health.
How did you get that gig? Like, was there?
Just happened, man. I was.
Did they find you in the mall? Yeah.
No. They, I guess, just being in the modeling industry. So people get to know you from the modeling industry. And I got this job in Munich, Germany. And so they flew me to Munich. And I remember being in the studio, freezing cold. It was like wintertime in Munich, and just concrete floor. And they had a big bucket, like giant bucket in the middle of the floor. And the assistant standing on this ladder with a bucket of cold water, and they had me standing in the bucket and they're pouring water over me while they're shooting pictures. And I knew of Men's Health, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. And so that photo shoot turned into actually several covers because they ran those covers in Germany and in Spain and some in Italy, and then of course in America. And so that was my first taste of Men's Health, and they really liked me. And I guess it was like a test. They were testing me. I didn't realize it, but
Because of the warehouse and like the.
Yeah, it was in Germany. I mean, who would think? And so I was just like, it's just another job. And so next thing you know, I start working with them a little bit more. And then when you're seeing yourself like on magazine, doing Men's Health, and it's all over the world. And then it just started to take off, and they were bringing me back more and more. And then I started doing all of their fashion stuff. So that was one of the really interesting things with my career, is that I could do fitness and fashion.
And I'm sure they both funnel into each other. Like the more covers you do, the more brands are probably calling you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And not many models could do that because, other models would be not have this like fitness body, they would be more on the lean side. But I could do both. So if I took my shirt off, I would look larger, because if you stay lean, you look actually bigger than you really are. And then I could still put on a suit and look like I wasn't a meathead in a suit,
Yeah. I'm sure some of those guys that were really ripped in bodybuilding competitions, like unhealthy, that could be unhealthy to a point with steroids and maybe juicing or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have,
was that pretty prominent in the industry?
well, not in modeling, but, in bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding,
but not modeling.
Not modeling.
No, I mean, most
Or
of the-
drugs, like with models. Like, I could just imagine. I've seen the Versace movie and
yeah.
I don't know. So you stayed away from that?
I stayed away completely. I mean, it just wasn't my MO, so, but you had a lot of people who, smoked and drank and, did drugs and, so,
They didn't last very long.
it doesn't, it makes you old pretty quick, so you have especially for girls, they already have a short career because, they're coming in to this modeling world, sometimes 17 years old or even younger, depending, on where they are in their lives. But I would see them like traveling with their parents or their mothers, and they'd be at, castings, or they'd be on jobs because they're so young. And, by the time you're in your 20s, they're doing, more of the catalog stuff, less of the fashion, and the life of a female. Yeah, it's short. And that's why they would get paid. It's the one industry where women got paid more than men. And so, with guys, you get more distinguished as you get a bit older with more wrinkles. It's just like, as long as it's not out of control. And so, you'd have a longer career, which, proves my point, over 30 years in the industry and, still working. I mean, I'm not doing it anymore. I officially
have retired.
Yes. I just don't, I think I lost interest in doing it. And I just, moving out to Colorado, this is not the Mecca for modeling. And so I came out here, got an agent, did a couple cool jobs. I did a job with Tecovas Boots, and I ended up doing like 16 TV commercials with them, did a lot of jobs with them, flew out to Austin for them.
The cowboy boots?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Perfect.
jeans. And it was cool. And so that was a cool gig when I got out here. And I worked for a couple other smaller things, but it was just not worth my time. The rates, they don't look and say, oh yeah, you were getting this. Well, now we're paying this, So
and you said your children went to school here, and then that's why you moved out from Miami?
No, we moved out here first.
Oh, really?
And then my son was graduating from University of Florida Gators. That's where I graduated from.
Okay.
And he
Go
got
Gators.
Oh yeah, baby. And he was, he got his master's from University of Florida, and then he came out here. He lived with us for about 6 months before he moved to Fort Collins. And my daughter was in University of Central Florida in Orlando. Then she came out to Wyoming, finished her master's there, and then she moved to Fort Collins as well. So now they're in Fort Collins.
Okay. So why did you pick Evergreen? Did you have some other places you were thinking?
No. We came out here about 25 years ago, and we were looking around. We found Evergreen, and it was really similar to the place that we were living at in South Florida called Weston. We were in a place called Weston. We actually built the house in Weston. We were there for 26 years and raised the kids.
Similar to Florida and Evergreen. How so? In what way?
It just was like the community. We just felt like it was a well-groomed community that was like, a little higher end and really cool shops.
Not geographically though, so much though, right? Just more of the social sense.
Yeah, just the social sense of it, I think, and then we wanted something completely different. And so going from basically, your sea level to where we live now, we're like 8,500 feet.
There's some advantages, I guess, of working out at this level.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go home, you're a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like,
just that air is like, whoa.
Oh yeah. It's just, it makes you feel like you can run a marathon.
This episode is sponsored by Tafari, a brand for creatives that aspire to inspire. Check them out at tafariworld.com or on Instagram at tafariworld. The brand's style is rooted in original artwork and tribal energy. Tap into the frequency. Now, tap back into this episode. Okay. I like that. You should use tap back into this episode. So, do you ever feel like calling in sick one day, or is it just you're so excited to get to the gym? Or because normal people, normies, us normies, sometimes it's just hard to, like, on a cold, wintry day, you know, maybe we skip that one.
Nope.
Never feel like calling in sick.
Never.
Okay.
I love it every single day. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific strategies or routines to get your head straight before some of these workouts you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I think, we've done a little bit of this is timed workouts. You know, we do time.
That's good for, it gets the heart going. Like what you mean with like 20 seconds, just do as many reps.
Yeah. Like Tabata time, which a Tabata is typically 20 seconds of work with a 10-second break. And you do, a number of sets. So you do like 8 sets of that. But
do they always have the guy yelling at you in the background?
Me?
Like, no, there's the guy on the, the David Goggins type guy.
Right.
On the,
no,
on the
you could just have a timer.
Okay.
But yeah, so we started messing around with times. So instead of doing 20-10, we could do 30-15, 40-20. So do like 40 seconds of work with a 20-second break, And so we'll mess around with doing back-to-back sets, like 2 different exercises. Sometimes we'll do 3, 4, sometimes up to 20. And so it's like if you ever are feeling a little bit like unmotivated when you get in the gym or you don't feel like doing it, you just start doing that and it really just kind of like sets the tone. And so
it's a pace. There's not time to rest in between.
Right.
Yeah, look at your phone, whatever. Yeah.
And that's why. So
that's a good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're asking me like, is there anything? I think that probably would be, for me, one of the really great like hacks that you could do. Granted, other people like to jump on cardio and get a little warm up, but I even find that could be a little tedious. You want to kind of also the idea of getting in and getting out. That when you go to the gym, it doesn't have to be a 2-hour affair. You can get a workout in 40 minutes. And so with that mindset, I think you're more apt to get to the gym, say, look, man, it's like, how often does an hour go by in my lifetime, during my day where I'm messing around with social media or not doing anything, it's like, it's, if you could just dedicate yourself to that, granted there's getting to the gym and so forth, but I think that, if you get yourself to the gym and you start with those kind of a time deal.
Yeah. There's no going back. As soon as you hit it, you got to follow through.
Let's go.
Or you suck.
Yeah.
If you give up, you're like, I'm not doing this.
Oh,
today.
that's not
That's
not
an option.
No. Like we had you doing burpees last time.
Oh my God.
And you
killed me.
But you got all yoked up and you were like,
at the end, I raged that ball down.
Yeah. It was awesome.
It was good. So you don't really do much cardio before you go for a workout.
Well, the workouts that I do are a lot of cardio into them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and what about stretching after? Do you? You mentioned you don't really stretch after, but
I tell my clients they should stretch and they should roll. Of course, I
roll.
Foam roll.
Foam roll. Okay.
Yeah. Or you could roll on the floor, do somersaults.
Roll. I took jujitsu before I signed up with you and rolling.
Tap out, baby.
Yeah, I didn't like that very much.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't swap sweat with other dudes.
That's what it was.
Can't
it was like too many old, hairy guys, and you get paired up with someone that's 100 pounds more than you. It's just like
with funky fingernails or like toenails and stuff. They're scratching you with like crusty. No,
I didn't like it. Yeah,
ain't happening.
And people had like rashes and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, So I did it for about a month, but
then you found the kid.
We found the spot right down the way. Actually,
yeah, man.
Okay. How do you stay updated on like because I think health trends are changing and they're, scientists are coming up with new health things and like, what do you do? Because mainstream, do you have a source that you kind of look into and
I
stay up to date?
First of all, I have to do my CEUs. So continuing education. So I have to do that every 2 years.
So you go to
I'm
university?
I'm with National Academy of Sports Medicine. So I've had that certification for 20 something years. And so you have to renew the certification.
Okay.
So, it's not that they're forcing you, but they kind of are, because you have to do continuing ed. It's the same thing for doctors and lawyers, or
So you go and take a course about any new stuff they're coming up with, or side effects.
yeah. And you can pick pretty much what you want to study. And so you do a course, you have to have 20 hours of time. And then you have to do, of course, you have to do the CPR stuff to make sure that you're up to date on all that, just in case you get in a situation.
How often do you have to renew that?
Every 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
But, also when you talk about this, we talk about, new trends and so forth. And I look at that like they're trends.
Are they?
And so,
because like I'm on hydrogen water now. I saw a commercial on Instagram. They're like, oh, hydrogen water has got all these health benefits. So I got one that was like, oh, yeah. I think it's like almost a placebo thing too,
Could be.
bit. But it's
and
H2O.
When you told me about it, what was my reaction? I was like, awesome. I'm supportive. Yeah, absolutely. Do what works for you and try all different things, because that's how like, oh man, I really felt a difference. Or even if it is a placebo, it made me feel better. And when I went off, I really noticed the difference. I was noticing that I missed it in my life. And so I support all those things, but I also look at it like there's so many of these things where people, it's kind of like biohacking now, where people do cryo or cold plunges, and that, it's all good. But I also look like you got to start with the foundations and the basics, because, there's also, like, think about just from a nutritional or diet standpoint, there's always a new diet,
Always.
Yeah. So, and especially back, 20 years ago, leading up until before, we were
getting fed false information 20 years ago, like in the 90s.
It's always changing. Yeah. Sure. And they're discovering. And so, there's always a new diet. And so, you could just say, all right, do I jump on this wagon, or do I just eat clean? And so I am of the school of just eat clean, just do the basics.
And what is that? What do you mean by that?
Well, when you talk about eating foods as close to their natural source as possible, so you're eating a lot of salads, leafy greens, fruits, vegetables, meats, and all those. So you're having things that haven't been processed too far. As we always talk about in the grocery store, outside part of the aisles usually are where the perishables are, things that are closest to their natural source. And then as you go into the center of the store, that's where you have a lot of processed cookies, crackers, and all the dry foods. And that's not to say that this, they haven't made advances, because they have. I mean, there's a lot of healthy things. You have to kind of be a detective to
big time. Yeah. Like even the healthy ones in the grocery store are owned by, like, Cassia, the healthy cereal. It's owned by Kellogg's. And they have, I think they're paying for a lot of that organic now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And even the meat in the grocery store, like I've been buying from Butcher Box and this other I want to try this Grassroots Farmers Co-op. It's another one that's even smaller and more local. But man, the meat, even when you touch it and prepare it, it's different.
You feel the difference.
Yeah. I think happy meat, like if you have a stressed out animal in a small cage, you kind of go, you eat that.
Yes, absolutely.
And all the hormones that they get.
Yeah. Think about just, what is it, like fight or flight, and the stress hormones that are released in the meat when they're going to slaughter and things like that. It's just, I think that there's so much merit to all of that, but I think, like, if we get back to basics, we're talking about foods as close to their natural source. So you can never go wrong with leafy greens, fruits, and vegetables. Try to get organic whenever possible. And then, meats the same way.
What's your cheat? Like, what do you, for a sweet snack or like potato chips, like what do you not even cheat?
Well, my cheat would probably be more carbs.
Carbs?
Yeah.
Like bread? Yeah.
Or it would be more probably like a pasta meal.
Okay.
Or, rice. I know that sounds so lame. It's like
rice is my cheat.
I mean, I do love sweets and I love all that stuff. I love scones. A good scone is hard to beat.
Yeah. So you eat that sometimes?
Yeah, I will. It's so weird, since I got out here in Colorado, I think the cold weather forces you to want to eat a little more comfort foods.
Sure.
And so, for the first 4 years, I probably ate more pizza out here than I've had in my entire life.
Guido's? Where do you go?
No, I like Guido's is good, but Woody's.
Is it? I haven't heard of the
Woody's.
Woody's.
Oh man,
Is that in Golden or?
it's in Golden.
Okay.
It's banging good, and it's the pizza bar on all you can eat. It's dangerous.
All you can eat pizza.
All you can
See,
eat.
pizza always hurts my stomach, but it's not the pizza itself. It's how much pizza I eat every time I eat pizza
Right.
because it's like
Oh,
last slice. I say that maybe a couple
I
times.
know.
And then,
I know. Especially if they're there and you're like
yeah.
last slice, and then you hear them over the intercom, like barbecue chicken on the table. You're like, oh, just one more slice. You go.
Oh, so they do it like that. They make them fresh, and you go up. And
You go
it's
up,
like,
and they've got
okay.
every kind of pizza, and then of course they got the salad bar. So
They're usually pretty good at like pizza bars like that.
Oh,
The salad, like
yeah.
Bojo's used to have a good
Yep.
one, and I
Yep.
liked going there, but they got rid of it.
yeah,
they
the
don't have it.
Bojo's, the Bojo's in Evergreen.
Yeah.
Is okay. The one in Idaho Springs is the one to go to.
Okay, yeah, I've been there too, actually.
Yeah, but Woody's, there's something about it. It's Colorado, man, and I'll go there. I've gotten really good. Okay.
With not going there,
With
or
not, no, I'll go and I'll just get salad bar. I won't get the
you
pizza.
have discipline when you're there.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'll eat 16, 18 slices of pizza. Just like,
You're like, oh shit, he's back.
yeah, like I'm ready to do a throwdown. You
Yeah.
get me there. Man versus pizza.
Is there a certain number that you eat and then you get it for free? Like, when you eat the big
Oh,
steak.
I'd be
if you could
willing
eat-
to do it.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to do it, but
Eat 40 slices
yeah,
is free.
I'd be willing to do it. But
That's
no,
funny.
I've gotten really good. So that's like going back to my roots of saying discipline, consistency. And so, with my new supplement that I came out with last year, one of the things that I want to do, because it really kind of snapped me back in gear. Like, it's like, I have to represent this brand, and this is not me eating like, I wasn't going crazy, but it was time for me to say, no, I need to go back on what I know of eating clean, living, so I cut out the pizza. I usually would do pizza twice a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of
it's
where I'm at right now.
I got to cut that out too. I got to work on my diet a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned, I wanted to ask you about that. You have your own supplement brand, Avedon Essentials.
Yep.
And so what makes your formula unique against other ones that are on the market?
It's absolutely unique. I mean, it's
Okay.
first of all, it's therapeutically dosed and efficaciously dosed. So what I mean by that is therapeutically meaning like dosages that are recommended dosages in the nutrients that are in there, and efficaciously meaning that dosages that will make a difference. So if I couldn't get dosages like at the recommended levels, because for example, I have a CoQ10 in there, I got that at a recommended dosage. So there's nothing more frustrating than buying a supplement, and then let's say it has CoQ10 in there, which is good for heart health, energy production.
So they just have the tiniest
They had
amount.
a little bit, and then
just so they can say it.
yeah, and then you still have to take more
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Mhm.
And so I didn't want that in my formulation. I wanted all the amounts that you need in there and not have to supplement with anything more. So, it was very difficult to formulate. It just took me a long time.
How did you come up with the formula? Were you tweaking it, trying it,
Yes.
kind of seeing how
Yes.
you felt?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like alpha lipoic acid is in dosages. Well, I'm coming to find like, you have dosages over 100 milligrams can start to cause tickling in your throat and so forth. So at first we wanted like
You're like,
500
that's
milligrams.
a bit too much.
Yeah, it's like people could barely. We were trying it, we could barely take it, and so it was like a slow, like figure this out
You guys are
as
the guinea
we go.
pigs
Yeah.
along the way. Yeah.
And then everything else, like the MK7 that's in there, which is really good for arterial health. It helps take calcium from the arteries, so that's where you get that calcification of arteries and cause heart disease and so forth. So that MK7 reduces that, and it actually helps move that calcium to your bones where you actually need it. The alpha lipoic that I mentioned is a universal antioxidant, and what's great about that is it's a kind of an adaptogen. It's both water and fat soluble, and they call it the universal antioxidant. It also helps regenerate other nutrients like CoQ10 and vitamin C, and help them go further into your system. And then we have resveratrol, which is great for longevity and anti-aging, and that's like what you find in red wine. So and that's why they say like the Mediterranean diet is so healthy.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often do you have to take this? Do you take it daily?
Yeah, once a day. You take it once a day.
Mix it in with water? Or
yeah, you could do. So what's really cool is I wanted this to be really kind of unique and different. So it comes with a little shaker cup that's 8 ounces. So it's a little shaker cup. It's branded, kind of a cool little cup. And you fill it up to the line with either water, but I recommend like a plant-based milk. So like almond milk or cashew milk, or you could also use regular milk if that's what you're doing. But it just, I don't know, it makes it a little bit smoother. It makes it like a dessert. And you do 1 scoop, and these scoops are smaller. It's about a heaping tablespoon, my scoop.
okay.
So you
Not
put that
for like a creatine scoop. It's tiny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's smaller. It's not like a protein scoop that's big, So it's a smaller scoop. And then you just put 1 scoop in that, shake it, and enjoy. And it's like a caramel vanilla flavor. It's really, I mean, that's the first thing people say is like, wow, it smells so amazing and it tastes so amazing. So I'm really proud of this formulation, and it really helps people as far as protecting yourself from within when you talk about antioxidant health.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get me on some of that on
Yes.
the program to buy it. But so after someone starts taking that daily, how long would they start seeing or feeling the benefits?
I say you should start feeling it within the first bottle, believe it or not.
Really? Okay.
Which is a bold statement, but I do feel within 4 weeks, it's a 30-day supply, that you should feel a difference. You should feel more energy. You should feel, if you somebody who has joint pain, you should feel less joint pain. And so, look, when you're taking multivitamin, you're not always going to say, oh, I take a multivitamin, I'm really feeling the difference, and let's face it, most supplements, you're not going to, unless they have like a pre-workout, like caffeine or something like that. So yeah. And so for this, let's be realistic. Not everyone's going to feel like night and day difference, but you should, if you're in tune with your body, you should be able to feel, like I said, definitely more energy.
Like right away after, or after the first bottle, then you'll be like, okay.
You start to feel it. You start to, after about a month, especially for people who are dealing with like, joint pain, and, people who, it also helps with cognitive function, gut health. And then, of course, the big thing is heart health and protecting yourself from within, because we said that it's the ultimate defense, and antioxidant health is what we say look your best and feel your best, because you will start to see a difference in your skin. So
even if you don't work out, it's still a good thing to take.
It's not even for working out.
Okay.
It's not. It's just for overall health and wellness. And
awesome.
so, and it's populations, I'd say, from 35 and older. That's when I first started to develop this thing. This formulation was when I was 36 years old, and because I had such an interest in antioxidant health. And so, I think that, 35 to, 80 or 90, I've got people that are taking it in their 80s.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to be getting a few bottles of that.
Yeah.
How quickly have you seen someone transform their body? Like someone who's out of shape, that didn't go to the gym, and then maybe you've worked with them. They're like, that moment where they just call you and are like, fuck, I need to get into the gym. How quickly have you seen someone transform their body?
I mean, we've done challenges, and that's always a good, it's always good, because
how do you do that?
You just say, okay, like if I said to you, okay, here we are, here's a timestamp of today. Let's do a 6-week challenge, and let's see what's your goal. Do you want to lose fat? Let's say you want to lose body fat, gain muscle. That's going to transform your body just based on, how you're carrying muscle. And obviously the more muscle that you have, the more fat you're going to burn. It's like a fat burning machine. So every pound of muscle that you gain, you're burning an extra 50 to 75 calories a day, doing nothing, just sitting on the couch. Your basal metabolic rate, when you're sitting on the couch, it costs, like muscle costs a lot of energy to maintain. So that's the really cool thing, is that the more muscle you put on, the leaner you are to automatically all of a sudden get. And then if you look at your BMI, people could say, oh, you could look at somebody with a lot of muscle, and they say, oh, well, this, if somebody looking at it on paper would say, he's obese, because his BMI is so off the charts. And you look at the actual person, you say, oh, wow, okay, because he's got so much muscle. So the BMI is really not a good indicator. But when we talk about just where your body mass is, as far as like muscle versus fat, we can do a 6-week challenge and, get some really cool results. I've got some really cool before and after pictures.
Of clients of yours?
Of clients that I could show you.
That would be cool to see, like, in a 6-week, that
transformation.
transformation.
6 weeks, and I've got somewhere you'll see, and it's like, look, look at it realistically, and you'll say, wow, man, that's a pretty cool thing. And that to me is like,
that's inspiring.
Yeah. And it's also a learning process for that client. It's like, if you can do this in 6 weeks, okay. And the key is not to just fall off the wagon, cause anybody can do anything for 6 weeks. Let's face it,
Yeah.
you can do it for 6 weeks. It's, what do you do after that? Okay.
Month and a half. Wow.
Yeah. So once you get past that, it's like, okay, what did I learn from this experience? And in some ways it's kind of like do a little bit of a backslide. You can't be like in it all the time and think that you're going to progress all the time. You can't do that. You're just not, it's not going to happen. So you have to look at it like, there's highs and lows, and,
because you really do see the gains at the beginning and then it kind of dips off.
Absolutely.
And you got to just,
because you'll see, like you say, somebody first
in.
walks in the gym, I can get them fast results. Somebody who's been in the gym for a long time, they come in and the results are going to be a lot slower because they're used to being in the gym. But their stimulus, we talk about challenge creates change. It's more drastic when you're first starting in the gym versus if you've, been into fitness for months or even years, it's going to be slower, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. But, yeah.
What do you think of this Ozempic craze that everyone's on? You start getting Ozempic face. Like
I think it's,
they're pushing it a lot.
I think so. I think it's, I think people are going to, maybe down the road, it's going to open some people's eyes and say, I look at it as like too much of anything is not a good thing. So Ozempic is a drug. Let's face it. So it started off as something for diabetes, right?
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So it was like controlling blood sugar and so forth and helping people with diabetes. And the it's kind of like the side, benefit was that people were losing weight. And so I've seen people get, really good results, and we see people, in the media, when you talk about Kelly Clarkson and Odell and Oprah Winfrey and, and they've, at first were not really admitting to it. Now they are. They're saying, yeah, well, I've been doing Ozempic. I think if you use it as a tool, if you're using it for weight loss, I think that somebody who is having a really hard time, they've done the yo-yo dieting, all this. If they wanted to take this on, it's a choice. If you want to take something where you're injecting it every day or whatever you're doing.
Is it every day for the rest of your life or until you lose the weight?
For some people. For some people, yeah. I mean, some people are doing it maybe not every single day, maybe once a week, I think it is.
Okay.
I'm not sure on the dosing.
Yeah.
But, you also want to titrate the dosing. So, typical dosing will just start you off at a dose, and that's where people start to feel really sick, and they have a lot of, negative feedback from that. But if you titrate or you just start lightly, start small, and then that's if you go to like a private doctor and so forth, and they have a compounding pharmacy, and they could go small amount and work their way up, and you can tolerate that drug better over time. And so my whole thing is like, if you're going to do it, use it as a tool. Get to a certain point. I think it can teach people how to eat because it makes them where they're not as hungry. It helps people even with their drinking, like with alcohol.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, they don't want to really drink as much alcohol. It just kind of puts like, I don't know what it does. It does something
interesting.
With the brain. So I think that using it as a learning tool is a lot more healthy and a positive way to spin this than to just say, oh, okay, I'm going to be taking this for the rest of my life. Now, everybody's in their own situation. Everybody has their own set of goals, and everybody is willing to take their own risks.
Yeah.
So that's up to you. Some people get great results and just swear by it, and other people might not have such great experience with something like that. So I look at it as like, hey, if that's what helped you really kickstart this nutrition. Yeah. And then you get to a certain point, you say, okay, now I have learned a certain amount and I want to try to get off this and just do this on my own. If that's a possibility, that would probably be the best option. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't want to totally bash it,
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't do it
because it probably
myself.
helps people, and then they see some results right away. And if they maintain a healthy lifestyle, maybe they could wean it off a little
potentially.
bit.
Yeah. But I
How long has it been around?
it's been, I believe it's been around for quite a while as far as,
as the insulin.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
diabetes.
Yeah. But for me, I would say don't do it. That would be like a last resort.
Yeah.
You know, if you've tried everything else,
Okay.
that's just my personal view because I feel like you're better off not putting things into your body.
Yeah. It seems like something that easy, you know, it's hard work really that
Yeah.
you know,
It's
you
the
gotta do.
consistency, you know.
As far as creatine goes, like I've been doing that when I work out with you, but I've been hearing all these other health benefits of it just to take it.
Yes.
If you're sleep deprived, it has some
Amazing.
clarity. Can you take too much of that? Or,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
what happens? Like,
well, so creatine, first of all, I've got it in my product. So I got 3 grams in my product. So I did, well, or you call it 3 grams or 3,000 milligrams, right? So 3,000 sounds like a lot, but you know, it's just 3 grams. So you're taking probably 5 grams. You're taking a teaspoon.
I'm taking that big scooper that's like a shot glass almost.
Oh, right. You're doing the mix. So you're doing, so it's got, in that mix has 5 grams of creatine.
Okay.
Okay. So you have other things in there that help with the uptake of the creatine. But creatine in its own right, you know, I think that your wife is taking the pure creatine.
She is.
Yeah. So that's
Smaller scoop. Yeah.
exactly teaspoon, 5 grams. That's, you know, now they're finding that it's based on body weight that they could, you know, you could dose it by that. It doesn't vary a whole bunch. So someone that's 200 pounds probably could take 10 grams, 9 to 10 grams of creatine. And the average person takes 5.
Okay.
And so the benefits, you know, to take too much of it, potentially you can get kidney stones. It could be a little tough on the kidneys and so forth. So you're better off just dosing it. You know, people will do a loading phase sometimes. So they'll do 10 or even 20 grams for the first 7 days. And then they go to a maintenance phase, which is 5 grams a day on average. That's going to be your
5
average.
grams a day, even if you don't work out. It's just good to take. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start taking
saturate
that
the muscles.
daily because I've only been taking it weekly, but
Oh yeah,
I'm hearing good things about.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing with my supplement. 3 grams a day is a conservative amount, and that's something that I really adhere to with all the supplements. Is be more conservative. You know, get the most bang for your buck while being as conservative as possible. So you don't have to load everything. You know, I think that the nutrients we get in foods and you know how we live our lives. Also, you know, you just want to try to be as conservative as possible. So mine has 3 grams. But then you could easily take an extra 5, give you 8 grams a day, which would be perfect. And the benefits, you know, strength gains, absolutely.
like physically, muscle?
Absolutely,
growth?
yeah.
Okay.
Muscle growth. It's a cell volumizer. So what it does is it fills the muscle cell with water, pulls water into the cell. Some people feel like they get bloated from it. You know, they'll feel like, you know, all of a sudden they're holding water. And a lot of the problem there is that they're not lean. So what happens is the muscle is being expanded underneath a layer of fat. So what happens is that pushes that out, and people feel, oh my gosh, it made me bloated.
Okay.
But the truth is, it's not holding water between the muscle, the skin,
Fat area, yeah.
right? It's in the muscle. So it's like again, it's the cells in the muscle, the cell volumizer. So you know, it's super effective. It's one of the only proven, you know, sports supplements out there that they're finding that just it's good for the layman now, or the lay woman. You know, it's just for everyone. It's really healthy for brain health, for gut health, for, you know, strength gains, and, you know, connective tissue. When you talk about, you know, when you're creating more strength in your body and you're strengthening your muscles, you're supporting your connective tissues, your joints, and so forth. So it's just, they're finding more and more.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I take that. I'm going to up the dose maybe a little bit and buy another. I went through a whole thing so far. So
I know.
It's good. It's tasty too, actually.
Yeah.
Refreshing. I don't know how it would be possible at all, but do you have any like health goals you're shooting for, or do you have, are you like, I don't know, is there something like, do you want to get to a certain weight, or
No,
you're 60 now, it's just chill?
I think it's never chill for me. It's always,
yeah.
it's hard work, because being consistent. And
I see you in there with Cody. That does not look chill those days.
Right.
You guys go
It's
crazy.
anything but chill. Yeah. So I still challenge the heck out of myself. You know, I work out really, really hard, but I do, you know, that's how I live my life. You know, I feel like you got to put in the time, you know, in everything that you do. So for me, I think it's just maintaining, but, you know, I'm always looking, hell, if I could still keep getting bigger, I will get bigger. So I'm, and in life, you're always going to have highs and lows, right? So that's just seasonal. That's just how it goes. So you're always working a little bit like, oh, I'm looking a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm, relaxing a little bit. Same thing with nutrition, kind of relaxing a little bit on the nutrition, then I'm ramping it up. So it could be like, 75% clean, and then I'm up to like 95% clean or 98% clean, depending on what I have going on. That's what I was saying, like with my advertising with the nutrient and so forth. It's given me a rhyme to reason to like really ramp it up, stay clean, look the part, and walk the talk. And I think that's what I try to talk to my clients about. Anytime they've got, something coming up, whether, hey, I'm going on a cruise, great, perfect. Now we got something to work towards.
Yeah.
And people really they jump on that bandwagon of like, okay, man, I want to feel my best. And you can always say, man, how are you going to feel when you walk out on that, out on the promenade deck and you take off your shirt, and how are you going to feel? So you got to envision that. So it's like, it's like finding an excuse. I don't care what it is.
That's a good goal. Like,
Absolutely.
I think have a close short-term goal to look forward to.
Yeah.
Look good. Yeah.
Could be summer's coming up. It could be, I got a wedding coming up. It could be anything. It's just, you got to kind of play the like games with yourself in a way, figure out a goal that is strong enough to say, when you're staying there thinking, do I have pizza or do I just have the salad bar?
It's a helpful tip right there.
It's
Stay
like
focused, disciplined,
absolutely.
determined. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is the Robertson stash. So I got to ask you, have you ever experimented with cannabis, or do you? I don't think you do. You don't smoke, but
No,
maybe
I
back
don't.
in college or anything.
Yeah.
Did you a little bit?
Yeah. My roommate, Dave, great guy, man. He's Dave.
Dave's not home, man.
Darby Day. What's up, bro? And it's funny because we were in Italy together doing art. And so that's
really?
where we met. And then he was like, hey, I'm going to University of Florida. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be going,
No way.
And so it was like, let's room together. So we ended up rooming together, and we were roommates throughout all of college. And he smoked
Hot boxed all the time.
all the time, man. He was just like, it was all the time. So he would get giddy whenever I'd be like, all right, bro, throw it my way, So he would be all like, all right, man, Gregg's getting high. Let's do it, So it's really cool moments, really fun. It made it even better because, I would do it like once a semester, and then it was
Low tolerance.
so much fun, man. Just with Dave, and then
That's cool.
Yeah. And then a few times, of course, modeling in Europe and stuff like that,
Yeah. Ever with like Versace or anybody?
No. I mean, I really, when I was around those people, I wanted to be as professional as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We usually ask the guests if they could smoke a joint with anybody, living or dead, who would it be? But for you, I'm going to ask you, if you could have a workout session with anybody, living or dead, not a family member, who would it be? Have an hour of...
You would think I'd say Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I really, I feel like he's awesome. I love Arnold, right?
Yeah. Have you met him?
No, I haven't met him, but I do. I love the guy. Guy's awesome. I think that he's not so connected when, like if you were face to face with him, I think that he wouldn't be like in your space. I think that two people, number one would be Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
He's funny. He's articulate. He's creative, and he loves gym. So
when you met him in Europe, did you shake hands? Or
no,
did you just see him in the audience?
He was in the audience. Yeah.
Cool.
I would love to meet him.
Well, if you're listening,
heck yeah. But yeah, he'd be the guy I would love to train with.
That's cool.
And then second, I think Tom Cruise would be a really cool guy to like have some coffee with, or I would love to train Tom because I think that his training sessions, now he might be jumping out of planes and so forth like that, but looking the part, I think he could be. I'd get him looking dialed in, baby.
Ripped.
Oh yeah, dialed in. He's got a lot of weak points.
Sorry,
Tom.
Is he on mission? Is he playing in the next Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Is there a new one coming out?
It's the Final Reckoning.
That's it. What
That's
number
it.
are we at? 2 dozen?
I don't even know.
Probably 9.
It's a long way
8.
down. Yeah, 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Yeah, it's
I'll
going to be
watch
good
it because they're good. They're always good.
You should
like
see
it.
this one because it's going to be the final one, and I think it's his swan song.
Yeah.
I don't know if he lives or dies or whatever, but the trailer's out right now, and it looks like it's something you got to watch in the theater.
Yeah, they're pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
He does all his own stunts too. That's crazy.
Right.
That's a rush he's just looking for. He has all the money in the world. He's got to get that rush.
Yeah, totally.
Somehow. And what you said you managed the Rock's gym in Miami too? What was that like? Was that like an intense influencer gym, like, or was it just a regular gym?
No, it was private gym
yeah.
in a warehouse. I mean, state of the art equipment, and it was awesome. I loved it, man. I had my office up front, and I got to see Dwayne, on a daily basis.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we talked a lot. Sit in my office. We trained on the weekends, which was really cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So were your client, did you have clients there? You train other people there?
Yeah. So
were they all like just celebrities or like
no, I had,
rich?
of course, I have big athletes,
Athletes,
yeah, like Jeff Conine and Manny Ramirez and people like that, but we'd have people coming in, Antonio Brown, crazy wide receiver. And then we'd have a lot of football players, Henry Cavill, the Superman guy,
actor that played Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Henry Cavill.
Wow.
He trained at our gym.
Cool.
And then we had, Ocho Cinco, just a bunch of people would come in and out. And then we had photo shoots going in there all the time.
I bet.
And so, a lot of men's health, not men's health, muscle and fitness would come in. And so they're mostly covering Dwayne. And so it was interesting. I really enjoyed it. And I'd known Dwayne for a very long time, probably known him about 15 years.
Wow.
So when he, we took over that gym, then, I started to manage it, and it was a cool gig, and it was,
is it still up and running today? Do you know?
It's there, but it's nothing like it was when I was there. Like Dwayne is not there anymore. Now he's in LA. Okay. He's got his own gym. He's just blown up huge, so he's not there at all anymore. Yeah. He's not in South Florida anymore. He used to be based there, but now he was actually his first 1 or 2 seasons of Ballers. He was shooting there. So he'd come to the gym early and then have a car pick him up out back and sweep him off. And then eventually they moved the production to LA, and then he started having less and less time in South Florida. So
he's probably up at 4 a.m. and
he's up early, and we had some great times, and he's a really good dude. Everything that you see is exactly who he is.
That's awesome.
But he's a movie star in every sense of the word, as big as you could ever imagine him to be. When you're in his presence, he is every bit of what you see. Like you hear stories of people say, they met somebody and they're like, oh, I thought he was going to be a lot bigger, taller, bigger, more.
He's big.
He's big. Yeah. He's every bit that you see. He can't go to, he can't walk into the grocery store and, kind of anonymously, he just can't.
Oh, you can't. No, not even with a disguise.
No,
they'll know it's him.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Well, where can people find or purchase your supplement online?
Yeah.
Is there a website?
Avedonessentials.com.
Okay. We'll put a link to that too.
Yeah. And, on social media, I'm Gregg Avedon, at Gregg Avedon on Instagram.
On Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. And then I've got my modeling page, which could be fun to look at. It's, Avedon Model, at Avedon Model. And then I've got my health.
Check that out.
Yeah. Or dudes.
Or dudes. Yeah.
Right. And then I've got my health one, which is Avedon Fitness. And that's pretty cool because there's, I always try to tell people, like, it's free. You go back to my first post on Avedon Fitness, and it's 21 days with Avedon. And it's really cool, man. It's like I literally walk you through 21 days, training, nutrition, videos, recipes, everything.
Wow.
It's all free. It's all just
great.
Yeah, it's on Instagram. And it's a resource that it's like, I said, hey, man, I'm going to be doing this for the next 21 days. And I want to take you along this journey with me. And so if you go to Avedon Fitness, go back to the first
I'm going to do
post.
that.
Yeah, check it out.
So it's just like it's a 21-day challenge, or do you repeat, or do you take a break?
No,
or
just do the 21 days and see how you feel. But, like I said, I give you the workouts. I show you the workouts. I give you the nutrition every single day. I give you, I start off every day with a video that kind of talks about that day. Hey, this is what we're doing today. And then it takes you all the way through to day 21. It's like, here we are, man. And then, I feel like I had a bit of a transformation. And if somebody came along on that journey with me, I think that they would too. And I just wanted to do that. It was a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie, because it was work doing all those videos.
It's
on
overwhelming sometimes. To have someone kind of walk you through it could be helpful. That seems like a great resource.
Yeah,
That's not on YouTube. That's just on your Instagram.
No, it's just on Instagram. On YouTube, I have a lot of videos. I've got 150 videos of every movement, like every exercise, showing you, demoing it.
What's your YouTube channel?
Well, that one is Goliath Plan.
Goliath Plan.
Goliath Plan. I used to have this Goliath Plan, which is hardcore, man, pushing cars and doing crazy shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was out of control.
Wow.
It's awesome though. I still have books of. I have printed books of Goliath Plan, nutrition and training.
It sounds like the strongest man in the world challenge, where do you see those? They're flipping tires.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They do weird things. I feel like throw a log and stuff.
I mean, this is all about training, and but at one point you do get out and push a car if you want to
just
do
your
that.
car or
your
neighbor's car.
Just your car, yeah. You just get somebody in the car and put it in neutral and go.
That's fun.
And it's a smoker, man. But
I try that later.
Yeah. And that's only one part of it. I mean, the whole thing is really cool. I mean, like I said, I've got a bunch of books sitting there that aren't being used. So if you have somebody who's like, hey man, I really want to get one of those books, just let me know. I'll give them a book.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I think we did pretty good here today, man. Thank you so much for coming in.
Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
And I promise, last Friday I couldn't make it in, but this Friday I'm going to make it in.
Good.
Yeah. I'll see you there.
It's always a good day when I see you, bro.
I got to make sure you see me too. When
Yes,
come in.
I know.
Like, hey,
Greg, what's up?
Right on, man. Well,
Good
thank you
stuff.
so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and check out Avedon Essentials. I'm going to get some right now.
Yes. All right, brother.
Later, guys. Peace.
Peace.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Robertson Stash Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support us, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, we want to hear from you. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out. Hit the website, hit the link. We'll see you next time.